In our Universalist history, 19th century Universalist minister Hosea Ballou argued for universal salvation, but he also argued for an interrelational self, one in which there's not a separate body inhabited by and controlled by the mind. Ballou argued for a whole and interrelated self in which the body and the mind co-create the human experience with its surroundings and in relationship. Universalism argues a doctrine of human nature that implies that we are not independent of our environment, that we are communal beings and cannot exist without the support of one another. Universalism reminds us that we did not survive our infancy alone, and that we are always in relationship to our surroundings, to our context. We can create, it reminds us, and yet we did not create the world. We have the freedom to act within the confines of some givens that are indeed inalterable. And so for the Universalists, sin and salvation are a corporate affair and must be addressed at a cultural and communal level. Sin does not exist as solely an autonomous choice. There is also context involved. I am a Unitarian Universalist because I think that both of these doctrines are correct, that they in fact do not contradict one another, but instead point us closer to the truth when each of these doctrines are held in tension. I am a Unitarian Universalist because I believe when we address our sin, our mistakes, our fallibility, that we must look both at the choice, at the autonomous and individual level, as well as the corporate and cultural and institutional level. We cannot heal the world solely by healing ourselves. And we cannot heal ourselves solely by healing the world, even though both are really good starts. Our salvation depends on our actions and on one another. And so we cannot be Unitarian Universalists alone. We need one another to be held accountable. We need one another to take communal action on communal issues, to address our common human suffering. Like John Wolfe, I dream of a religion of the future, where we can own this new combined doctrine of human nature, a holistic doctrine where we are autonomous and interdependent. And I believe that Unitarian Universalism has the potential to do just that. I dream of churches where our liturgy offers the opportunity to touch the heart and the mind, that lifts the spirit and names that collective human woundedness. Churches that challenge us to reach for our potential and our highest aspirations, while offering us a sanctuary for forgiveness and fallibility. I came here because I know that there is room for that at All Souls. I am certain of it. I came because of this church's rich history and speaking out when others would not. I came because this church's voice can be heard around this country. And I want to stay because when I arrived here, the reputation was only the beginning. This church has a history and a culture of resiliency and of facing the depth of humanity's deepest pain and still celebrating our successes. I want to stay because of you. Because this church is not merely made up of this building and its incredible staff. It is made up of the people. Over the past year and a half, I've been harbored in your living rooms and hospital rooms, in the chapel and in the sanctuary, in the hallway in Emerson Hall, invited into your lives, celebrating and grieving with you. My heart, my mind, my body have been fed by your presence in my life. I have grieved the depths of grief that I never thought possible. Over the past year and a half, with the deaths of 2 children in our congregation and many pillars of the church. And I have celebrated and clinked glasses many, many times, including celebrating this institution's 85 years of religious presence in this community. I came for the reputation of this institution, but I want to stay because of you. I want each person in this congregation that I have ever even only said hello to know that they are loved and that love is embodied in this church, a persistent, relentless, forgiving, and faithful love. And it is my call to serve as a reminder to every person here, child, student, or adult, of my faith in their potential. I respect and honor the role that you have given me thus far, the role to serve as your voice to one another, a role that reminds me that when I speak of my faith and my hope and love, the import of my voice is lifted by every minister who serves or has ever served this congregation. It is strengthened by our free religious tradition, and my voice carries with it the inflection of all of my interactions of being touched by you. And it reminds me to hope in the face of the utmost grief and loss and struggle. That is what you have taught me. In this church, there is room for all souls, all who seek a covenant rather than a creed, all who choose to seek the truth in love. And in this church, we have freedom of the pulpit as well as freedom of the pew. I have the freedom to speak my conscience and my depth of my soul, while you have the freedom to examine, argue, and chew on what comes from here. You also have the freedom and the power with our tradition to call your own ministers. At the congregational meeting in December, you will have an opportunity to vote for a second called minister of this church. This vote formalizes our relationship that started over a year and a half ago. It is important to me that you spread the news and come. In order for this to feel like a commitment that we're all agreeing to, I would love to have record turnout, so that you can feel confident that this is the will of the majority of this church and this membership, and to show me that you have faith in my potential and our potential to be in relationship together. I have never been more optimistic about the start of a church year. We are doing incredible things together. Next week, Marlon will be talking more about his vision for the upcoming year and the process that we have underway to respond to our success as a church. We are seeing today, as in 1960 and 61, a unification of membership and an increased individual participation. In our reading from the history of this church, the author speaks of Reverend John Wolfe's union of the church being a fait accompli long before the official recognition. The trajectory of our success in all areas of this church, including the ministry, is grounded in our history, and I am grateful and proud to be a part of it, and I am honored to have the opportunity to serve and to love you. Amen.